Peter Thiel, you know? He looks like a Fred Armisen sketch character. Yeah. Unkempt, disheveled, and chock full of bad ideas. All right, let's get to American hostage and two others released.
Hamas releasing Israeli-American hostage Keith Siegel and two other hostages after nearly 16 months in captivity. ABC's foreign correspondent Britt Clennett is following all the developments from Tel Aviv. Britt, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. Yeah, I'm at the hospital, which will soon receive Keith Siegel. He's expected to stay here for at least 4 days. Keith becoming the first American-Israeli to be freed in this ceasefire.
This morning, American-Israeli hostage Keith Siegel finally back on home soil after 15 months in captivity. 65-year-old Siegel, the first American to be freed in the breakthrough ceasefire and hostage deal. In the ruins of the port in Gaza City, Siegel seen on a stage flanked by masked and armed Hamas forces. Hamas staging an orderly handover after criticism of their handling of Thursday's hostage release.
It's so crazy because like Hamas will do a handover inside of Hamas will do a hostage handover, prisoner swap, whatever, right? And when they do that in public, there's like massive crowds. Then Israel freaks out about it and says, "Look at these animals." Then they turn around and do it on a podium, right? Then they'll do a podium hostage release with the gift bag in tow. Then they freak out again because now they're like, oh, look at how civilized they are. This is unacceptable. This is actually ruining our propaganda. Okay? Like the worst thing that Hamas did in the eyes of Israel was do the first round of Israeli prisoners of war, the female soldiers, and they were all throwing up the peace sign. They were smiling. That was devastating for propaganda purposes. That was devastating for Israeli propaganda purposes. So they freaked the out on it, okay, and said, and then stopped the hostage swap process, by the way, okay? They stopped it because they hated the visuals of like having Israeli hostages like speaking Arabic and you know, talking about like, inshallah, the war will end, whatever. And so they went back to the crowds, and then the crowds were, you know, obviously chaotic. And they went back to talking about how barbaric they were. And now we're back to the stage releases. It's crazy. They're giving, Hamas is still, I see, giving all the hostages the drug that makes you dab them up.
Supporters watching in Tel Aviv.
She is here as American-Israeli Keith Siegel is handed over to the Red Cross.
On October 7th.
Meanwhile, whether it's chaotic or not, okay, Hamas hostage releases look noticeably different than the Israeli hostage releases that take place. Israeli hostages, Palestinian hostages in Israeli military prisons come out with a litany of diseases, looking disheveled, looking like they've been starved, handcuffed above their heads, okay, perp walked all the way through. Very, very different coverage, if there's any coverage at all in American media. No coverage whatsoever. Also goes to show who actually cares to even maintain the presence that they are, at least to a certain degree, trying to maintain standards of warfare. Okay, Palestinian prisoners are being released with signs of torture and starvation on their bodies. But sure, let's see more headlines about the chaotic crowds around freed Israeli prisoner in Gaza. I feel like that hasn't been covered enough. Hamas releases 3 Israeli hostages in chaotic Gaza handover. Chaotic scenes at Gaza hostage release. Israel releases Palestinian prisoners after delay over chaotic hostage handover. Yeah, Israel delayed the Palestinian release. Initially, they delayed it because of the non-chaotic hostage release that took place. And then Hamas went back to doing the crowd releases. And then that was chaotic. And then they complained about that as well. And then they went back to the stage release. It's crazy. Red Cross workers express outrage. Of course, the only place that like adequately covers this is still Israeli press, by the way. Red Cross workers express outrage as Palestinian prisoners being released as part of Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal are led with handcuffs above their heads. Yeah, I mean, this is the noticeable difference in treatment. When you get held in an Israeli prison facility, this is what you look like when you come out, even if you come out at all. Okay? And despite the gruesome conditions of withstanding a Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and the Palestinian forces across the board have tried to do their very best in spite of all of the, relentless bombing campaigns to maintain some semblance of humanity in their treatment of the hostages. I mean, there's no comparison. It's not But by the way, you say propaganda. Okay. Does Israel not have the opportunity to do propaganda? Like, what are we talking about here? So much of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, if you want to call it that, can be solved by Israel behaving like a normal country and not like a barbaric, monstrous force of apartheid and ethno-religious supremacy doing a... That's it. That's literally it. Do you not understand? Like, Israel will be like, oh, Palestinians are dying in a telegenic fashion, okay? Palestinians dying looks good for the Hamas cause. It's like, bro, they're not perishing. They're not engaging in mass suicide. They're not dying because of car accidents. You're killing them. If you are worried, if the only thing you care about, if you cannot see the humanity of these people that you're killing, and the only thing you care about is the optics of it, here, I have a very good solution for it. It's called don't kill these people. It's called don't do war crimes. It's called don't do a... You can't just like do a and then also get mad that people are receiving that in a negative fashion. It doesn't make any sense. This is the problem. Yeah. Even if the Palestinian groups, and I've maintained this position since October 7, even if the Palestinian groups are only treating hostages better because they're more valuable alive, the outcome is still the same. You're absolutely correct, chatter. They're treated better in that process. Okay. Having said that, is there a likelihood that there is like abuse or assaults that have happened under any kind of Palestinian like hostage keeping process? Certainly, there are criminal elements involved in penetrating the Gaza envelope and going into Israel proper. There were definitely criminal elements that took advantage of the situation. Okay, but all reports on the matter show, and I've read so many of these. Okay, I've read so many reports both in Western media and in Israeli media from firsthand accounts of hostages that have been released, and virtually all of them, okay, with some exceptions, there's like one or two exceptions, virtually all of them have reported that the Palestinian forces tried to keep them alive to the best of their ability, because it makes sense. It's their one leverage. It's their one bargaining chip, you know? Genuine question, not trolling. If Gaza was experiencing a famine and the hostages don't appear to be starving, would that indicate the hostages' care was being prioritized? Obviously, Hamas had more food access. Sorry, I know I'm spamming. There are parts of Gaza that is experiencing famine, specifically North Gaza. As far as I understand, given the complex tunnel network that exists under the Gaza Strip, the likelihood is that they probably move the hostages around to areas where they had easier access to food. They probably have more food supply. And yes, they were most likely prioritized as well. Can you blame some Israelis agreeing with what is going on? I feel like if you're brainwashed by your parents your whole life, then I would feel like it would be hard to think differently. No, I totally understand that. That's why I do what I do, chatter. That's my point. That's why I have so many Israelis in this chat that consistently rely on my coverage of what the is going on. Okay? Yes, of course I understand social conditioning. My entire job, my entire purpose in this regard is to try to actively tackle that false framing and try to get people to acknowledge the truth. Try to get people to, at the very least, understand what motivates people. Do you see what I'm saying? Because a big part of this process, a big part of the reception, a big part of understanding, like, or looking at the situation in Gaza, and you know, turning a blind eye to the atrocities, or at least championing it, cheering it on, stems from the active dehumanization of Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslims in particular, both in Israel and also outside of Israel in the Western world. Okay, when that kind of propaganda has already set in, when you already treat these people as like a barbaric force that is not human, that's subhuman, right? Then yeah, you will believe any number of different lies that people tell. You will never be able to comprehend that, yes, if you push people into a corner, if you back them into a corner with no way out, they're inevitably going to try and fight out of it. Okay, that's it. Many Americans have been propagandized in a similar fashion, right? Do you promote? No, I do not promote. I do not support the American empire, and I certainly do not support the actions of the Israeli occupying force. So, No.
Siegel was taken from his home alongside his wife Aviva. She was released during the week-long ceasefire in November of 2023. Finally, this morning, the end of a long and agonizing wait. Aviva and their son Shay watching from a TV at Riem base as Keith was handed over by Hamas. She told me last September how she's been dreaming of this moment.
And I just can imagine Keith coming out and me just screaming and jumping on him. And I'll be just the happiest person in the...
Like, this level of coverage is perfectly valid, okay? Content, yeah, this guy is just insane. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. This kind of coverage is perfectly valid. I, however, do wish that they would feature similar humanizing pieces on the Palestinian side as well. But the problem is, I think, if you were to engage in any sort of humanization of the Palestinian side, people would recognize the horrible conditions they were put through in the Israeli prison structure. They would also recognize that these people are not actually prisoners, okay? They didn't go through like the legal system. They're under permanent detention in military facilities after undergoing a military tribunal. So they're actually also hostages. It's just hostages with like maybe a little bit more paperwork than what Hamas has. That's the difference though, because it's a foreign ally that you know, has some semblance of the state machine enforcing its will. Then it's seen as totally different. What do you mean keep the hostages alive to the best of their ability when they're the ones initiated this thing? What do you think? Why do you think people take hostages? Do you think people take hostages to just simply kidnap and kill them? Because that's a different thing. That's not hostage taking. That's just murder, right? Like, this isn't me reinventing the wheel. Okay, what was October 7? What do you mean? What was October 7? I'm confused by your line of questioning here. Okay, damage control going crazy. Yes, damage control, which is me reinstating the exact same commentary that I have engaged in since. Why they have to take hostages to begin with? Oh, great question. 76 years of military occupation by a settler colonial state that has been unimaginably violent to the indigenous Palestinian population from its inception in 1948 with the mass expulsion and ethnic transfer of 750,000 Palestinians, followed up by 76. Okay, Tucker, what? Peace. You asked me a question. I'm giving you like a super brief history of the Israeli state and how it works. I don't know what okay Tucker means. Are you saying I'm Tucker Carlson or something? From chatter in the West Bank, Mejza. My family lives in Batunia, West Bank, where Palestinian hostages are released. I know that the IDF have been firing at crowds that release hostages. Here's further proof. I don't understand the mindset that people have when they come in here and ask a question, I think, in bad faith, specifically to just go, yeah, I can't hear you, la 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 la, peace. Like, what goes through your mind in that process where you're like, I actually don't want to hear the real reasons. Anyway, yeah, 76 years of permanent occupation, apartheid, mass separation, humiliation, almost a century of domination with no way out, a so-called peace process that yielded no positive results for the Palestinians, teaching the Palestinians a very important lesson, a very dangerous lesson, as a matter of fact, that trying to negotiate through diplomacy with the sovereign Israeli settler colonial state is only going to lead to further encroachment on existing Palestinian land in the West Bank, specifically with settlement operations expanding throughout the so-called peace process, okay? Creating Bantustans in the West Bank and restricting freedom of travel. You said it best when you watched that Willie Mack video. Your ops are too stupid to even understand what words you use. Yeah. Tucker argued with peers about the Gaza situation. He might have been referring to that. Yeah. Tucker Carlson is now woke. So stupid. I hate that it's always the likes of Tucker Carlson, who is a very good propagandist, that gets all of this hype. The big takeaway here is that these people would probably be more charitable if you look more Western European, but you look more Middle Eastern. Therefore, you showing the other side of the story makes you. Yeah, I mean, look, Muslim-related, Arab-related matters is the one instance where is truly the one instance where like people are not receptive to what I have to say. And I think part of that is because despite the fact that I look white and I am white, there's still, I think, a hang up that many people have when your name is Hasan and you're Turkish. Okay.
World. And Keith, from the minute he comes home, he's going to be the king. He's going to be the king of the world.
Now that day has finally come. Hamas also
What's up with this narcissistic dude thinking he's a debate god? Are you talking about me? Because I don't think that. I very openly state that I'm not very good at debate. I am fairly knowledgeable on certain issues, though. I would say this is one of them.
Releasing 2 other hostages this morning, a separate event in the city of Han Yunis, bringing Ofer Calderon and Yarden Bibas to a stage before handing them over to the Red Cross. The 2 have now safely returned to Israel. Many have followed the story of the Bibas family since the October 7th attacks. Yarden Bibas is the father of the 2 youngest children abducted by Hamas. Bibas seen kidnapped in this video. His wife Shiri clutching their 9-month-old and 4-year-old as they were taken. Their fate is unknown. Still, one more American expected to be among the 33 hostages released in phase 1.
Why are there so many pro-genocide chatters today? Why do you think, man? Why do you think? Perhaps it has something to do with my former podcast co-host who literally ended the podcast over our difference in opinion on Israel, finalizing his like 6-month project by calling me an anti-Semitic. Maybe those people watched that and came in here and were like, yeah, I can't wait to show him what's what. Yeah, I mean, it's just brigading, which, because you can't be serious, Ethan cleared you, debate Ethan. I would love to do that. I mean, I would love to have a conversation with Ethan. It doesn't have to be a debate, but if it is, then it is. But yeah, I feel like if you genuinely think that he will best me in the marketplace of ideas, when only a couple months ago he was like, oh, I didn't know enough about Yoav Gallant, the defense minister of Israel, who is, a war criminal, after saying he was a good guy. I feel like he's not the best equipped to have this conversation in a way that will, yield results that you think are good. Yeah, or not knowing what Roe v. Wade is either.
On this deal, Sagi Dekelchen. In exchange for this morning's 3 hostages, 183 Palestinian prisoners also freed from Israeli jails. The ceasefire also allowing for crucial medical evacuations in Gaza. For the first time in more than 8 months, the Rafah crossing reopening to allow sick and wounded Palestinians to get treatment abroad. And in the north, displaced Gazans finally making their way back to what is left of their homes. The UN saying nearly 500,000 people have returned to northern Gaza since the crossing reopened in the past week.
The Siegel family releasing a statement saying they are filled with indescribable excitement, thanking President Trump, saying our hope lies with you that the others are returned home. Janae?
Aviva and Keith will be back together with their son again. Thank you so much for that, Britt.
These happy moments were decades in the making. Now, being interrupted.
Embarrassing watching you hide from Ethan's vids. I don't think I can be your fan anymore. Once again, I'm not hiding. I have maintained this position. I will repeat it again for you. I am willing and able to talk to Ethan directly. I feel like that would probably be more of a productive conversation, don't you think? Hey, haven't seen the Ethan vid. What does he say? Should I watch the Ethan vid? Hey, Hasan Abi, I edited the content nuke for you. Embarrassing watching you hide from Ethan. What is happening to chatters today? Okay, what is happening? I think chatters are just baiting the same thing over and over again to like loop me back into the conversation. No chat still 2023. Yeah. No, I don't think that's a drama baiter. I think that's an October 7 lever. Yeah. Instead of watching another 1 hour and 40-minute slop with clips that are completely out of context, I would love to have a normal conversation, a polite conversation with my former podcast co-host. To be way too charitable to someone who's definitely being disingenuous, they might see you as having better debate tactics, so even though you're wrong in their eyes, you will beat Ethan using debate tricks. Anyway, what else was I gonna talk about? Because we only have 10 minutes remaining before I do GeoGuessr, and I also have to set up for it. Why is this stuck in my head now? Where the hell is this? Holy shit, people. I haven't checked my emails in such a long time. I just realized people are sending me their like certificates of cancellation from like as contractors with the federal government. I think you debunking it in one video would shut everyone for good, to be honest, but I understand if you don't want to. I have already. That's the reason why it won't shut anybody off for good. And notice how you are even unfamiliar with it, especially considering that every single thing that has been brought forth in the video has been brought forth a million times over, because he didn't come up with anything new or unique. He just like literally regurgitated all of the previous things that the Destiny community has put forth. And that is precisely the reason why it's been addressed a million times over and people just seemingly don't care. Okay. Game start. I'm going to do solo or group GeoGuessr gameplay. Okay. This is crazy. Hold on. I'm going to put this in the mod chat. Speaking of contracts, there's a lot of my job to the USAID review. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, chatter. Okay. Asset here. Where's the asset? Okay. Download the asset. Make a panel. I have to go P2. God damn it.